It's what you do in the dark that puts you in the light. Greetings, delegates, to the closing ceremony of NCFEMUN 2021. I am Hazik, your Under Secretary General of Administration. Hope you all have enjoyed 2 days of committee filled with enthralling debate and thoughtful resolutions. This year at NCFEMUN, we had over 150 plus delegates spread across 7 committees. Now the OC would like to share its reflections and perspective on the committee and the performance of the delegates. I'd like to invite the Secretary General to speak on the UNICEF committee.
So, a very good afternoon to all of you. For the past 2 days, moving around from committee to committee, honestly, I can say it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I'm just going to carry this on forever and cherish it forever. So, coming to the UNICEF in particular, a junior committee, which was the largest committee in our entire conference. Let me tell you the amount of enthusiasm that we got from that committee is unbeatable. It is clearly the most enthusiastic committee, both from terms of the EB as well as in terms of the delegates who were there in committee. When we walked into feedback session, we couldn't walk out just because of the amount of delegates that wanted to speak, even in the feedback session. And with that said, UNICEF was definitely one of the most fun committees in terms of press sessions as well. We had press sessions going on for most of today, and every delegate took it in such a positive way that I did not expect at all that junior kids took it that way, because what I got in feedback session was saying that they learned a lot, and the fact that we could hear that from the delegates' mouths themselves made us really happy. So I would like to move on next to the dissect. So I spent most of my time in the dissect. We started off slow, but later on committee picked up, and dissect was dealing with the largest agenda, if I had to say myself. The whole instability in Afghanistan, so much is going on right now. And after all of that, the delegates did show their interest, and it was a good session, especially during the press. We enjoyed that part thoroughly. So I was spent most of my time in dissect. The delegates had real fun, and that's what mattered to us most. So those were the 2 committees that I'd like to share my reflections on. Further, I'd like to pass it on to Dhanushri, the Director General, who will now talk about the UNCTAD.
Oh, apologies everyone, but Dhanushri isn't here, so I would just share my views on how the CTAD went. I really enjoyed moderating CTAD for the little time that I did, because I was delegating under Arkadeep Pal last year in NCFEMUN 2020 in the and this time moderating a committee along with him was really fun. And I can definitely say moderating under Arkadeep Pal and Aditya Avadhani would be one of the best experiences I've ever had so far. Also, I would also be talking about UNCCPCJ as well. I would like to start off by saying how honored I am to be part of the NCFEMUN OC. Rahul and Aditya Sirka were amazing, and it was great fun to serve as their acting moderator. NCFEMUN and Rahul James share a really special bond. Considering Rahul James has been with us since the first edition of every NCFEMUN, and fourth time chairing as a member of the EB at NCFEMUN. Now I would like to call Aditya Pentyala to share his view.
Okay, so I moderated the Continuous Crisis Committee, the Walls of the Diadochi, and where do I even start? I mean, first off, I'd like to thank Hamsini for, even making that committee, because the whole thing was her brainchild. And the EB, Ayan and Udesha were phenomenal. Like, they took it perfectly, and committee flow was insanely good. Crises kept rolling in, and the first 30 minutes of the first session, I remember messaging the entire OC saying, I'm modding the best committee out here. Ayan, I mean, I was in his committee last year, and he was even better than last year. I mean, this is coming from me. I was not a first-timer in his committee, and I know he's always been super friendly to first-timers, and this year was absolutely no different. And I really hope to see him next time at NCFEMUN too. This year, we had something very special planned for you in the Motion to Entertain. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it. And I mean, you've always been a great great EB member, and the legacy and the impact you've had on NCFEMUN is completely incredible, and we're just honored to be able to carry that forward. So, on behalf of everyone in the OC and everyone who's ever been a part of NCFEMUN, Adesha, we just want to say this. We love you, Pandey. We do. Over to Hazik now.
Yeah, so I had the immense honor of moderating the FCC, and it is really a beautiful committee with Indian politics in mind and different ideologies. And these ideologies may not help you win the ultimate aim, the elections, the 2024 elections, which was the basis of this entire committee. It was really nice to see the delegates come up with the manifesto, a well detailed one, albeit with some faults and which the other delegates did pick up on. And overall, it was a very enriching experience, and it is a real honor of mine to moderate the FCC. And once again, I've been on other side numerous times before, and I would not like to waste a good portion of your time. So presenting to you the closing ceremony video, following which the placements will be announced.
Before that, we'll have the USG Finance, who is actually never mind before, and he was a part of the ACD, so he would like to share his reflections of the ACD.
So, good afternoon, everyone. As our Secretary General said, I have never won before, but these past 2 days in the ACD conference have been immense fun and a really enthralling experience. I learned a lot of new stuff, and the chairs were really impressive. Sinhani Prem and Hisoli, really great job. And yeah, that's all from me. Over to Dhanushri.
All right, so first of all, good afternoon to everyone. It's the first time I'm serving as a part of the OC, and the experience and the amount of stuff that I've learned, I'm really, really glad to have this experience. I was moderating the United Nations Commission on Trade and Development. This committee, even though in the beginning it was a little slow, later on they actually caught up space. And about the executive board members, they were really supportive, and their guidance to the committee is definitely commendable. Although there were several formatting errors and documentation errors in the resolution and several other foreign policy violations, I'm pretty sure that every delegate who sat in the UNC that had an amazing learning experience. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, now moving on to the closing ceremony video.
See the money one more day for your meal, getting all the piece of pie for your wife. Everybody wanna know how it feels. Everybody wanna see what it's like. My baby wanna be a queen. Well, alright, we all deserve to find things in this life. So looking at a little dog in the night, just wondering
Now, I would like to move on to the most awaited part of the closing ceremony. Firstly, I would like to welcome Alfred Thomas and Akshit Sainarayan, the co-chairs of UNICEF.
Right. Very good evening to everybody. So I didn't expect a junior committee to be as enthusiastic as my delegates were. And not just that, the confidence that they exhibited, I definitely did not see that coming. We had witty points of order, and the enthusiasm shown by the special mentions. They were incredible. So the special mentions in no particular order are the delegates of Canada and Pakistan.
అమ్మ ల్యాప్టాప్ తీసుకురంటున్నాడు
Okay,
నాన్న ఇస్తాను ఈ డబ్బులో ఫోన్
Delegate of Malaysia, could you please mute yourself?
right. For the delegates of Canada and Pakistan, the press session was the most entertaining. The answers we got, they were hilarious, but the confidence that they showed, that is inspiring, especially considering that they were in 6th or 7th grade. So really good job. And the commendable delegate, this delegate was witty with his responses. I believe he was well researched. So this is the delegate of Russia. Now, Akshit will announce the outstanding delegate and the best delegate.
Good evening, delegates. Good evening, OC members, teachers, all other EB members. And I know how nervous this time as far as placements are concerned can be, which is why I'm going to waste as much time as possible and make the nerves get to you by talking as much as I possibly can. So starting off, acknowledgements. I would like to thank Secretary General and Director General Hamsini and Tanushree. You guys have done a phenomenal job with the conference. I honestly did not expect such a huge turnout, and you guys are simply brilliant. Moving on to the OC, I am super proud of how far Hazik and Penty have come, even Aditya Sareen, who I've barely spoken to, but brilliant job, my guys. Above and beyond this, I would like to thank BV Sai, the guy who I lost to by half a point last year and is along with me in this conference today. I'm very glad to have served along with you, BV, and of course, Stammy for the brilliant work he's put in. He's probably the best OC member. I have to give him that award. That is his demand from me. But moving on to the awards, I'm going to be announcing the outstanding delegate and the best delegate. These two delegates have been going neck and neck in competition, and I would like to say that the point difference between the two of them was a meager 1 point. It all came down to the press session. It all came down to the documentation. And without further ado, the outstanding delegate is the delegate of Finland. And the best delegate award by a margin of 1 point, having done a wonderful resolution, a well-researched paper, goes to the delegate of Chile. Congratulations, delegates. And I hope to see you in future conferences.
Now we will be moving on to the DISEC, co-chaired by Gunav Menon and Manish JS.
Hello guys, everyone at NCFE. I'm Manish. I've chaired the dissect for like the last 2 days, and it has been a memory I will not forget. Being on the NCFE executive board for 2 years in a row was something that's really something I wanted to achieve a long time ago when I started running, and I to finally do it. It's a pleasure. I would firstly like to thank all the teachers and the OC members for putting up such a good MUN. The MUN is so well organized, and I don't think I've seen an online MUN more organized than this. So huge congratulations to the teachers and OC for the successful job. I would like to especially thank Sai Rishi. He personally was on a G Meet with me for 3 hours, 2 days before the annual, making a background guide with me, formatting it, and I really couldn't have done it without Asad Rishi. So yes, best OC member for me as well. And I would also like to thank the Secretary General, who we didn't have the moderator, so the Secretary General came in and really helped us answer these issues. Really, thank you so much for that as well. And now for committee delegates, and given that we had Afghanistan as the topic for our agenda, I expected committee to go a lot faster in the start, but usually y'all picked it up and y'all never let it down after that. And the press conference also was something amazing. And I guess we all can agree that our committee was something that we're all going to remember for a very long time. So let me not waste too much time. And I would also like to say that Gunav also likes to extend his wishes to the OC teachers and everyone related to NCFEMUN. And without further ado, I'm going to read out all the awards because I don't. Gunav was not present. So we have for the special mentions we have two kids of years 13 and 12 respectively, the delegate of UAE and the delegate of Israel. They did not seem like the 13-year-olds. They really came to committee with a motive to achieve something, and that they did. It was brilliant. We'd also like to give a special mention to the delegate of Egypt. Amazing work, delegate. It was splendid work from you. And now moving on to the commendable delegates. Now we have in second commendable delegate. This delegate just missed out first commendable because of his paperwork, but he still made it into the top four. So congratulations, delegate of Russia. You are the second commendable delegate. Now, so first commendable delegate goes to a delegate who was exceptional in our press conference compared to the rest of the committee. Her questions were on point, and she really knew.
Approach well. It is the delegate of Poland. Moving on to
The top two in committee. These two were neck and neck, and I guess I can say that one delegate played to his own, dug his own grave, um, but the other delegate really took the chance. So the outstanding delegate goes to the delegate of the United States of America. Delegate, you did an immense job of annoying everyone, including the executive board. But yes, delegate, you were impeccable in committee. And I guess the best delegate, goes without a doubt, is the delegate of India. Amazing job, delegate. You were such an all-round performer that we couldn't pick a fault in anything you did. Thank you, OC. Thank you, and thank you the rest of the EB as well for being here. And yeah, congratulations, delegate.
Thank you. And now we'll be having the United Nations Commission on Trade and Development, co-chaired by Arkadeep Pal and Aditya Avadani.
Right. So hi, everybody. I do understand how tensed all of you are, so we'll just get to it. I will be announcing the special mentions and the first two commendable awards. Aditya will take over the last two. So let's get to it. Simply because, all right, the special mentions are in no particular order. The delegates of Malaysia, Germany, and Pakistan. I think all three of you did a brilliant job. And if you just work towards a little bit and contributing towards the documentation process, your scores would have been a lot higher. I think now moving on to the uh, commendable delegate award. The second commendable delegate goes to the delegate of Vietnam. The first commendable delegate goes to the delegate of the People's Republic of China. Now, the only reason, so I want to make something clear. The first four awards that are given were extremely close, and this is the first time in my history of chairing that I've had to decide awards not on the basis of positive points, but rather on negative points. On that basis, over to Aditya.
Thank you very much. So the honorable delegate in this year's UNCTAD will be the delegate of the United States of America. And by a very thin margin, the best delegate from our committee is the delegate of India. Thank you all.
Thank you, chairs. And next will be the UNCCPCJ, chaired by Rahul James and co-chaired by Aditya Sirkar.
Good evening, everybody. First off, I'd like to congratulate the Secretariat and the teacher coordinators for hosting yet another successful edition of NCFEMUN'. Chairing the UNCCPCJ was a unique experience to me because it is by far the youngest committee I've ever chaired over, with an average age of about 14. So at the face of it, I'd like to also thank Sai Rishi and Aditya Sarkar who helped me in running this committee. And obviously the delegates were also exceptional for the amount of experience they had. And without further ado, I'd like to move over to the awards. For special mention, The special mention goes to the most likable delegate in committee, that is the delegate of South Africa. For the two commendable delegates in second commendable delegate, the award goes to the delegate of Turkey, and the first commendable award goes to the delegate of Indonesia. I now hand it over to my Vice Chairperson Aditya Sarkar, who will read out the honorable delegate and the best delegate.
All right. Greetings, all delegates, OC members, and the executive board members. Before I go to the awards, I think I definitely have to thank my chairperson, Rahul James, because without him, even I learned things in committee which I would have probably not learned if he wasn't the chair. I'd like to thank the OC also for calling me. And without any further ado, between the best delegate and the outstanding delegate, there was only a very thin point margin of 1.75. So the honorable delegate award goes to the delegate of Egypt. And the best delegate award goes to the delegate who quoted non-stop from various legislations or from that or various pacts, the delegate of Italy. Thank you all.
Now on to the Asia Cooperation Dialogue, chaired by Sinhani Prem and Vice Chair Hisuli.
Hi. So I'm the vice chair of the ACD. Sadly, our chair couldn't be here because she was busy. And honestly, our committee was what I feel very enthusiastic and lively, even though a lot of them were first timers. And first, I'd like to announce the honorable mentions in no particular order. So the honorable mentions are Japan, UAE, and the delegate of Vietnam. These delegates not only gave us consistently good work, but consistent effort as well, and we cannot commend them enough for this. Secondly, I'd like to move on to the commendable delegate, which is the delegate of Iran. The delegate of Iran showed us that she has done plentiful research and her delivery was impeccable in committee, and I cannot appreciate her enough for that. Last two are the OD and the BD, and I know every committee has settled now that both the delegates are neck to neck, but really over here we could have just rolled dice. It all came down to the final minutes of the conference where we had to do resolution and amendments. They really had to fight it out neck to neck and teeth to teeth. And in the end, the OD goes to the delegate of the People's Republic of China and the BD goes to the delegate of Turkey. I cannot commend them enough. And my chair, she's honestly the most amazing chair I've ever had. And I cannot thank her enough for letting me run committee for a while and be so amazing. So thank you. That is all from the vice chair of the ACD. So thank you.
Now time for the penultimate committee, the CCC, Wars of Daidochi, co-chaired by Udesha Pandey and Ayan Wali.
Firstly, greetings to everyone present here. I would like to start off by firstly thanking the OC and Hamsini especially for choosing this very innovative and first of its kind agenda for a continuous crisis committee, which gave us a very huge scope of making crisis updates and also gave a huge scope to delegates to act on their own will. So firstly, talking about the organization of the month, it was really flawless, and I really couldn't comprehend how my juniors who were in the same room as me 2 years back, getting trained by me, now could take up such tremendous amounts of pressure. And that's something that really, that makes me really proud. So good job, all of you. Thank you to Shaji ma'am and Principal ma'am for inviting me to this MUN conference once again. Now let's talk something about the committee. So our committee in total received 134 directives. These 134 directives were over 6 sessions conducted in these 2 days. And let me tell you, let me tell something to everybody. Out of these 134 directives, there was a huge number of directives which are almost consequential of one another. They were like parts of a puzzle, and which is why our jobs as crisis directors or the co-chairs was fairly simple, because the delegates crisis updates itself drove the committee to so many crisis updates that we did not have to pre-write any crisis updates. So that's something that I loved about our committee. Now, without further ado, let's move on to awards. I shall be announcing the special mentions and the CD, and Ayan shall be announcing the other two awards. So the special mentions in no particular order is Cassander, Seleucus I Nicator, and Humanus of Cardia. Those were the special mentions. Well done, delegates. The next up, we have the commendable delegates award, which goes to Antigonus the First. And Ayan, you may take over now.
Thank you, Desha. So essentially, now I'll be talking about the HD and the BD. Before I move on to those awards, though, I would like to give a very big thank you to the OC for inviting me. The OC has been very helpful, and it's been a very smooth process for me working with NCFEMUN. NCFEMUN and me go way back, and it's always a pleasure to serve on the executive board. I'd also like to thank Aditya Pentyala. He's been doing way more than what a moderator was expected to do, and I'm very happy that we had him in our committee. And so for me, you were definitely the best moderator that I've had in a while. Now, moving on to the juicy part, that is the awards. So the tie between it was very close between the honorable delegate and the best delegate, and it came down to the wire. So for the honorable delegate in the Triple C goes to the delegate of Cleopatra. Congratulations, delegate. And coming to the best delegate, this delegate went completely anti-committee. He set up his own empire, went against the Macedonian Empire, and then confronted and called himself the Pharaoh of Egypt. So clearly, this delegate does deserve it. He did a lot. The best delegate for the Triple C goes to Ptolemy the First Soter. Thank you, delegates.
Uh, just before we move on, Hazik, I had promised the committee that I would give out a last crisis update. So let me just read it out for the sake of committee. So delegates, I hope you're listening. This is the last crisis update. The Mauryan Empire, along with the newly reformed Macedonian Empire, started its march on the Ptolemaic regime, only to find the Spartan Empire at the gates. The war lasted for 6 months and resulted in a trilateral peace treaty signed between the Ptolemaic Empire, the Mauryan Empire, and the Macedonian Empire. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, EB. And now lastly, the FCC, ad hoc meet of the UPA, chaired by Sri Tarun and Vice Chair Abhishek Girish.
Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. So firstly, I'd like to go on with acknowledgements. A big thanks to the OC, Hamsini, Dhanushri, BV, Hazik for being so supportive and helping us throughout. This is one of the most dramatic committees I've ever been to. So like we got at least 50 directives, and reading all of them was a pain, but it was really fun as well. And making crisis updates was just really interesting. Moving on to the placements, the special mentions in no particular order are Sachin Pilot, Sonia Gandhi, and Navjot Singh Sidhu. And the difference between both the commendable delegates was such less that we requested for two. And the second commendable delegate award goes to Shashi Tharoor. Moving on to Tarun for the other awards.
Thank you, Abhishek. I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm traveling. Respected members, please to bear with me.
Yes, totally
I
fine.
would like to express my 1 minute. Now, is this audible? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's fine now.
Yeah. So, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the principal of NCFE, the teacher coordinators, the OC, especially Sarishi for his excellent job. Without him, my committee would have been just a dream. I owe a lot to Sairishi and also to the SecGen. SecGen was supporting us till the last moment. I thank you also, ma'am. Delegates, today, right now, I'm feeling too nervous. I started this journey of MUN at CL1 in 2019, and from there it went on and on and on. Have done more than 24 months, have chatted a lot of months, have been a part, and by God's grace, never lost an Indian committee. It was a really an excellent journey, and NCFE Man shall always stand extremely close to my heart for a special reason. Well, with a heavy heart, as the the time comes, it's right for us to make the right decision. So, with a heavy heart, I have made this decision that NCFE Man would be my last other institution man. Well, my eyes are filled with tears, but still I have to make this decision. I have a commitment. I shall continue to aid my home man, but NCFE man will be my last other institution man. And I thank the NCFE team for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And sorry, delegates, for keeping you all waiting for this most awaited moment. With no further delay, I take the honor and privilege to announce this first commendable delegate, Mr. Rahul Gandhi. The Outstanding Delegate Award goes to OVC, and the Best Delegate. This delegate really did every single thing that an Indian politician will do. The delegate's directive was excellent. The speeches were too good. There was no point where I can say this delegate lacked. The Best Delegate Award goes to the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamta Banerjee. Congratulations, delegate. Have a great day ahead. And those who couldn't make it up, don't lose your heart. You all have great talents, and every single delegate in my committee was worthy of getting the award because each one of you was best in your own way. Keep up the winning spirit. Don't let it go. Jai Hind.
Thank you, EB. Now I'd like to invite your USG Finance to announce the delegation awards.
None of Us is as Smart as All of Us by Ken Blanchard. The competition between delegations is at the core of any model UN conference. At NCFEMUN, to amp things up and encourage our internals to grind to their highest for the sake of a team, we introduced the internal delegation concept. And now, without further ado, the Best Internal Delegation Award goes to Monster Trucks. Congratulations. Now, I would like to call our beloved Secretary General to announce the best delegation of NCFEMUN'21.
Well, this is it, isn't it? The last and final award all of us are waiting for. So I'm sure if I stall longer, I'm going to get knives thrown at me. So let me just go straight at it. So the best delegation award goes to the Manslaughterers. The Manslaughterers, a private delegation, really, really well done. Amazing job. You guys have got the best delegation, and it was amazing. All of your delegates in the delegation showed such good competition. Their diplomacy, the way they spoke, walking through each committees, it just made us really happy. So delegates of the Manslaughterers, very well done. But with that said, there is something else I might also have to say. Delegates of the Shishugriha Senior School, you guys were a very close second, and it's important that I give a special mention to you because the delegates of Shishugriha did really well, and we lost just by a little point. Very few. There was a very small point difference between the two of you. So with that said, delegates of Manslaughterers, once again, congratulations.
Now I'd like to call upon your Director General to give out the vote of thanks.
Respected principal, teachers, executive board members, and all the delegates present here. It is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked hard to make the National Center for Excellence Model United Nations 2021 a grand success. On behalf of the organizing committee and the entire fraternity of the Vijayakaran group of institutions, I would like to make this opportunity to offer my sincere thanks to the Almighty for making today's event possible. A special mention to our venerable principal, Ms. Susan Barrett, for being the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of power. With deep sense of appreciation, we thank our beloved teachers for their untiring efforts. I would also like to thank the management and the IT department, without whom the online conference would not have been possible. I'm very grateful to our teachers, Shaji ma'am, Swati ma'am, and Seema ma'am, and I lack words for their participation and their willingness to support us beyond their comfort zones. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the Executive Board members for their constant guidance, support to the delegates, and for their contribution in making the conference a grand success. I feel blessed to have worked with my fellow organizing committee members who are extremely cooperative, dedicated, and above all, immense fun to work with. The time we all have spent together planning every single part of the event will always remain memorable and cherished. Last but definitely not the least, the delegates have been at the core of the conference, and without their active participation, none of this would have been possible. After 2 whole days of passionate competition, extraordinary display of research, thoughts, ideas, opinions, and a multitude of collaborative and diplomatic communications, I believe that each one of us here had taken one decisive step ahead towards building a future as fully aware and responsible global citizens. With that, I would like to end the conference quoting Nelson Mandela. Difficulties break some men, but make others. No axe is sharp enough to cut the soul of a sinner who keeps on trying, one armed with the hope that he will rise even in the end. I, Dhanashri S., Director General of NCFEMUN' 2021, officially declare the conference closed.